Final score from Chicago after the Cowboys score on their first 3 possessions. They go scoreless for their final 6 possessions and fall to 1-2, a 31-14 loss at the hands of the previously winless Chicago Bears. This is the first word presented by Dr. Pepper from the Globe Life Studios at the Star in Frisco. Barry Church, Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. And guys, I think you can tell by just the tone of my voice. That was frustrating. Yeah, that was bad. That is a bad performance.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah, it was bad.
Not a good team.
It was an extremely frustrating performance, especially on the defensive side of the football, because the same mistakes that were made against the New York Giants, the same correctable coaching mistakes that were made against the New York Giants as far as communication goes, as far as being in the right spot, alignment-wise, things that are all, before the snap, things are all preventable. The same things happened in today's game against the Chicago Bears. When you looked at it, the explosive plays were a lack of communication, bad eyes, not being where you're supposed to be. And it happened once again as far as the explosiveness has happened. I mean, they got 4 players, for the Chicago Bears had each catch had a catch of over 30 yards. The explosive plays on this defense is just at an all-time high right now. And it's not only on the secondary. When you have a quarterback back there who has all day and all night to throw the football, I don't care who you have in the secondary. You can have Deion Sanders, Darrelle Revis, whoever the case may be. When a quarterback has that long to throw the football, bad things are going to happen. This defense is struggling right now because the communication is at an all-time low, but also they're getting no pressure on the quarterback. And quarterbacks in this league are too good to let stand back there and play 7-on-7 football, because that's exactly what happened this afternoon. They have to step it up on the defensive side of the ball.
I completely agree with you. There were a lot of things in this game that we can go back and point to. I'm just going to fast forward to the thing that stuck out most for me. And the thing that stuck out most for me was that last drive of Dak Prescott's game. Let's just say it that way. Dak Prescott being in the game, gets the ball down to the 11-yard line. From that point forward, you had 5 straight passes, 4 of those passes of which being within the 5-yard line and in. So 4 straight passes that ended up obviously in an interception. That, to me, I don't understand. I'm not the offensive play caller. It's not for me to understand. I can only dissect what I see on film. And when you're running the ball as effectively as you were against the Chicago Bears front, when you have invested as much as you have into this offensive line that was doing their job in terms of the running game, and you have a running back who was averaging over 7.5 yards per carry in this game, I don't understand how you don't give him an opportunity to run the ball from the 5-yard line back-to-back plays. Or after you get the roughing the passer call, you get the ball down to the 1-yard line, how he doesn't have an opportunity to touch the ball out the backfield with that offensive line and that running back. I can't comprehend that. And then that's the last time we saw Dak, and we don't need to talk about that right now.
Well, we will at some point.
And I have to talk about it because that's the very nature of who I am. With 4 minutes left in the game and my quarterback runs out of the game, I'm thinking he's injured. And he's not just standing over there. I need some answers. OT is what it's called?
Yeah.
I can't wait. I want to know why your quarterback didn't finish this game.
Down by just 2 scores
Just
at
17
that point
points.
in time. And
17 points. Like you said, if they would have scored.
Which they almost did.
What do you do then?
Yeah.
That's bothersome. That's not right.
That's one of a number of things, especially this offseason that was built on culture, right? That was the buzzword.
And competitiveness.
Effort, compete every day. And with
Every down.
4 minutes left, you basically threw in the towel and said, we'll see what happens. Now, give credit. I mean, Joe Milton threw a couple good passes. They were able to drive down the field. They had a shot into the end zone. Brevin Spann-Ford took it all the way down inside the 5 prior to a penalty. Lots of things there to talk about, and there's more before that point to even address when it comes to effort. I'm looking at the secondary in that regard. But when it came to that moment in the game, Isaiah, I think all of us looked at each other collectively and said, there's a lot of time left here.
Yeah.
And it's a 2-score game.
Yeah.
That's why it's bothering all of us up here. Again, we're not paid to be in a position to make those calls, but as competitors, and especially when you're teaching competition at the ethos of your team, new head coach, coaching up the team for the first time in your life as a head coach, and you're teaching competitiveness, you're teaching being relentless, you're teaching going after it every single down. You're in a game that is winnable. Down by 2 scores. Yes, you need a 2-point conversion, but you're in a game that's winnable, and you have your quarterback that you consider to be the best quarterback in the league because his paycheck says so.
Yeah.
Highest paid player in the league, perfectly healthy, in a winnable game, and he's not allowed to finish because you take out your white flag and you wave it. And for competitors, both as players and coaches and decision makers, we can't fathom how you can take somebody out in that situation, because what does that now communicate to the rest of your team? Mm-hmm. Milton comes in the game, throws some darts. Brevin Spann-Ford plays out of his mind trying to get a touchdown because why? He's competing. Mm-hmm. So if he was to score on that and you were able to get the 2-point conversion and your defense goes out there and is able to get a 3 and out, maybe you get the ball back with 2.5 minutes left, and then what? Does Dak go back in the game?
Can't do it.
What are you communicating to your team?
And it's not like, they were putting Dak in harm's way out there. I could see if he was getting lit up the entire game, every time he dropped back to pass, somebody was in his face or hitting him in his chest. But they only gave up, 2 sacks the entire game. The offensive line, in my opinion, played pretty well. They opened up holes for Javonte Williams. They had Dak Prescott protected. He couldn't find anything down the field, so he had to kind of dump it off to security blanket and Ferguson, who ended up with 15,000 catches. But when you look at it, I felt like the offensive line played well enough to where he's not getting lit up down in and down out. He could have went out there and continued to fight. That's all we hear about each and every day from this team: fight, resilience, all this other stuff. And just like Isaiah said, what type of message is going to the team when you put, your backup quarterback in the game with that much time left?
There's a lot to break down whenever it comes to that decision. Dak specifically, you talked a lot on the defensive side, and there's plenty to clean up on the defensive side. But I do want to talk about Dak specifically. 31 of 40 passing, 251 yards. He did have the touchdown to George Pickens. Couple interceptions. One was a drop by Pickens that resulted in the interception. The other one was on 4th and goal, trying to fit it in a tight window. On that scenario that Isaiah, you brought up earlier, 4 straight pass plays from inside the 5-yard line.
With 2 high safeties.
With a 6-man box. Yeah.
You got to be able to run the ball.
Got to run the ball.
You got to.
Javonte Williams finishes with 10 carries, 76 yards, had a long of 22, ran the ball effectively well. Nate, when you look at the offense, what stood out to you and how this one all kind of came together?
You were competing. To me, you were still in the game.
Yep.
You ran just enough to keep them honest, like you said, to keep that pass rush off of them. You still had the players. You had Turpin, you had Pickens, you Ferguson, like you say, he was dinking and dunking. Mm-hmm. You still had an opportunity. And so, once again, 4 minutes, 18 seconds left, and the big dog disappear. That's just heartbreaking for me personally.
I mean, as a player, how do you react to that when you're conceding basically with that much time left on the clock?
Yeah,
as a new head coach that's trying to get tread on the wall, that's trying to communicate and relay messages to his team and trying to create this identity. This is a huge step back in terms from these guys sitting up here.
Yeah,
we're not in that locker room.
Yeah.
But from all the situations that we may have been in through our careers, okay, I had the shortest career out of all these guys, but I can't comprehend it.
Yeah. CD trying to come back in the game.
Ooh, we're not.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got guys saying, "Hey, man, I'm here for the team," and they're trying to do the best they can. I mean, just keep playing. I've been on a 3-13 team. I've been when things are bad. I've been when got down by 40 points, and
Yeah.
But you keep playing.
But it presents the reason why we're harping on this is because it presents an issue down the road now. Because now, in a future scenario where you might be in a tight ball game, or you're asking guys to go above and beyond the, the call of duty, I'm saying, hey Barry, I need this. You just hurt yourself. I need you to get back in there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna think back.
Yeah.
I can't help but to think back to when we had an opportunity to win the game and go 2-1 on the season, and you put in the backup quarterback.
Yeah. And you keep this in mind, this is not a team that's in week 16 or 17 and eliminated from playoff contention. We're in week 3. This thing's just getting started. This is the start of the year, start of a coaching tenure, start of a lot of different things here. So there are going to be questions that need to be answered from the coaching staff, from some of the leaders on this team, from some of the guys that did not finish the game that maybe could have if they would have stayed in the ball game. I'm not going to say names right now, but there are certainly ones out there.
Press conference would be nice in OT.
There's going to be a couple of them to hit on as we go through. Barry, since you talked about the defense, I want you to give an opportunity to talk about what you saw on that side of the ball as well.
On defense?
On the defensive side.
Yeah, I think on the defense side of the ball, I mean, the one thing that you were missing, the one element was pass rush. And I think the one gentleman that we were all hoping to see today, for whatever reasons might be, whether he wasn't conditioned enough or didn't know the defense enough, whatever it was, their decision, I think Clowney could have impacted this game with what we've seen from him in the past. We don't know who he is today.
Sure.
But from his previous film in his last 3 stops where he had 17 sacks, you could have used his presence today. I think there were obviously some of the same things, like Barry said, that we've seen on film, that we talked about in the pregame show, that we talked about in special edition leading up to this week, that were coverage issues. There was communication issues on the back end. That happened once again today. It's not necessarily happening from the same person every time. You had a young secondary out there. Trayvon Diggs was out there. He missed opportunities that he had one-on-one. He's not who he once was. He has to understand that in his head and adjust his game. There were guys, safeties, that dropped the ball again in terms of coverage and in terms of responsibility. So there was a lot of things that happened on that back end. That's what we've seen just on the TV film. When we take a deep dive as the week presents itself, I'm sure there'll be more that's out there.
Dante Fowler, Sam Williams, Osa. These are guys that have to pick up the game. Sam Williams is coming off of injuries. May take him a few weeks. Okay, Osa, you are a veteran. You understand the magnitude of these games. Dante Fowler, where are you? Yeah. Where are you, my brother? Yeah. This just was not a well-played game, and for us to be from week 1 to week 2 to week 3, we need to see improvement. And that is what I've been banking on all since training camp. So as long as we're getting better, but to make the same mistakes over and over. You did a super job in pregame breaking down the secondary. One of the touchdowns was the very same thing you drew up. Yeah. That cannot happen.
All of this to be said, you could argue that the best performance for the Cowboys was week 1.
Yes.
Then they took a step back in week 2, still won the game, but they took a step back. And then week 3, it's a significant step back, and you fall in this one, 31-14, the final score. We'll have plenty more reaction. We're going to hear from Coach Schottenheimer and rest of the Cowboys locker room from Soldier Field in Chicago momentarily as Cowboys OT is incoming on the streaming networks, and check your local listings as well. Here are the final stats brought to you by Dr. Pepper. It's a Pepper thing. It was not the Cowboys' night on this 21st night of September in Chicago. 31-14 the final. For Barry, Isaiah, and Nate, I'm Kyle Yeomans saying so long. Thanks for watching The First Word, presented by Dr. Pepper.